So, in our last conversation, we established that one real committed decision has the power to change your entire life. But that brings up a really important question, doesn't it?
I mean, why is it that you can decide with absolute conviction to change a habit, to start a project, to be a different person, only to find yourself maybe a few days or weeks later pulled right back into the old pattern? Well, it's because there's a deeper force at work, an invisible current that runs underneath all of our conscious choices. And understanding that force, that's the key to everything.
So here's what we're going to unpack. We'll start with the real question we should be asking ourselves. Then we'll uncover the two hidden forces that are actually driving the bus. We'll look at the strange comfort we find in familiar pain, see exactly why willpower is almost designed to fail us, and finally get to the heart of how real, lasting change actually happens.
You see, the problem is never really about making the decision. We all make decisions constantly. The real question is, what is this hidden force that so often overrules our best intentions and our most committed choices? Well, what Tony Robbins proposes is that every single thing you do and everything you don't do is governed by a simple primal engine inside of you. And this engine has absolutely nothing to do with logic or reason or what you think you should do. That engine runs on just two fuels: the powerful instinctual need to avoid what you believe will cause you pain, and the relentless drive to gain what you believe will bring you pleasure. That's it. These twin forces are steering you every second of every day. Robbins calls this the pain-pleasure principle. And I want you to notice the most important word in that definition: believe. This isn't about what is actually painful or pleasurable. It's about what your nervous system has learned to associate with pain and pleasure. It's an instant, gut-level emotional link.
And this is just so crucial to understand. Emotion is what drives our behavior. Logic? Well, logic is like the press secretary who comes out afterward to try and justify what emotion already did. And until you really get this, you'll keep blaming yourself for not having enough discipline, when discipline was never really the issue to begin with.
But this brings up a paradox, right? If we're all wired to avoid pain, why do we keep doing things that we know are hurting us? Why do we procrastinate on a project, eat the food we know will make us feel awful, or stay in a relationship that makes us miserable? The answer is one of the most profound insights in this entire book. It turns out your brain fears the pain of the unknown more than it fears the pain of the known. The familiar discomfort of a bad habit, as strange as it sounds, often feels safer to your nervous system than the uncertainty of changing it. Now, this isn't a character flaw. It's a survival mechanism. It's biological. Your nervous system is just trying to protect you by seeking certainty. And the discomfort you already know feels more certain, more manageable than the unpredictable path of true change. So it gently pulls you back to what's familiar, even if what's familiar is quietly destroying you. And once you really see that protective mechanism in action, you can understand exactly why our most common approach to change, brute force, is almost always doomed from the start. We've all said this to ourselves, haven't we? I just need more willpower. I need to be tougher. We treat change like it's a battle of attrition, something we can win if we just grit our teeth and push hard enough against our own nature. But here's the fundamental truth. Willpower is a temporary resource. It runs out. Your deep-seated emotional wiring, however, that's a permanent system running 24/7. Trying to use willpower to overpower your wiring is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. Yeah, you can do it for a little while if you strain, but the second you get tired, the moment you get distracted, that ball is going to shoot right back to the surface. Think of it this way. Motivation is a spike. It's that temporary high you get after watching an inspiring video or having a great conversation, but your emotional wiring? That's the system. And when that spike of motivation inevitably fades, the system always takes over. So real change isn't about getting more motivated. It's about rewiring the system itself. Okay, so if brute force fails, what actually works? Well, this is where we move from just diagnosing the problem to actually taking control. The solution isn't to fight against this primal force, it's to get it working for you instead of against you. Real, lasting change happens when you consciously do two things. First, you have to link massive, immediate, emotional pain to your old behavior. Not just intellectually know it's bad, but viscerally feel the true cost of not changing. And second, you have to link overwhelming, incredible pleasure to the new behavior you want to adopt. You have to make the new path the most compelling, exciting, and desirable option your brain can imagine.
And when you successfully rewire those two associations, something incredible happens. The inner struggle just stops. Your brain no longer resists the change. It starts to demand it, because the new behavior is now instinctively seen as the fastest path to pleasure and the surest way to avoid pain.
You see, it always comes back to these two forces. People don't quit a job they hate when they have a perfect 5-year plan. They quit when the daily pain of staying finally becomes greater than their fear of the unknown. They don't transform their health after reading one more article. They transform when they finally hit an emotional threshold. Pain creates the urgency, and pleasure provides the direction.
So the ultimate point here is this. Your recurring patterns aren't a sign that you're weak or undisciplined. They're a sign that your internal operating system is working perfectly based on the emotional associations it currently has. Your behavior makes total sense once you understand the system that's running it.
So I'll leave you with a question to sit with, just for a moment and with zero judgment. What pattern keeps showing up in your life because, on some deep subconscious level, the idea of changing it still feels more painful than the familiar ache of staying right where you are? Just seeing that clearly, that's the first real step. Now, understanding this force of pain and pleasure explains the how. It explains the engine that drives your actions. But it doesn't explain who's in the driver's seat or what's on the map.
The pain-pleasure principle explains why you move, but what determines the things you move towards and away from in the first place? What sets the rules of the game for your entire life? Well, that is the power of our beliefs. And in our next deep dive for Chapter 4, we're going to discover how our core beliefs act as the invisible gatekeepers that define the limits of our lives, and then we're going to learn exactly how to break them.